Welcome to another episode of the CarryTrainer Higher Line podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Higher Line podcast. And I've got a friend down here today, Dan Brokos. Is that the correct pronunciation? Brokos?
That is, Brokos is correct.
Brokos of Lead Faucet Tactical. I said that to somebody earlier. I was at the gym this morning doing some jiu-jitsu, and I said, I'm doing this podcast today with this guy's company's Lead Faucet Tactical, and one of the people there's like, that sounds poisonous. And I thought that was kind of funny. So you probably do a better job of introducing yourself. I know we were just chatting before we started recording. Multi-year Green Beret with the United States Army, of course, and now you're on your own raising goats.
That is correct. Yes, Hey, fellas, Dan Brokos here, Lead Faucet Tactical. Maybe we'll get to the story behind the name of that, but yes, lead is definitely poisonous.
Yeah.
I spent about 26 and a half years in the military. Retired about a year and a half ago. Started my own company, Lead Faucet Tactical. I've sort of had a baseline since about 2008. I've been working with Viking Tactics.
Oh, cool.
As far as being an AI for Kyle and those guys out there. So, it was nothing new to me, but it is new when you're responsible for yourself and not working for somebody else. So I had been doing this for a while, and really my only two breaks in the military were instructing at the schoolhouse. So it's something I really enjoyed and really like putting out information. So that's why I decided to go into business marks for myself, but not only just instruction, but we're doing some products as well too, which is my passion, in inventing and designing things I didn't have with the military. I wish I would have.
I didn't know that. We had a glitch in the comms here for a half a second. You said the only break you had during your time in the military, and then I heard schoolhouse.
I was operational the entire time.
Gotcha.
I had a break at the schoolhouse. I was the CQB course instructor, and then I ended my career being the sergeant major out at our schoolhouse, in charge of the CQB and the sniper operations.
Awesome.
So pretty much my whole career has been involved around weapons of some sort.
So for people that are listening that don't understand, like, and I'm not a veteran, but I'm around enough dudes that I know these terms now. The schoolhouse you were teaching at Fort Bragg, right? Basically, yes. Like every Green Beret has to go to that school. Is that correct in that?
No, it's called Range 37, but it's only the Green Berets that are assigned to a specialized direct action company.
Okay.
That will go to that course, and that's probably about 15% of them.
Okay, so in layman's terms, and you tell me if I'm wrong, so Green Berets are already like the elitist of the elite. Then the dudes that are going to go be the door kicker badasses, my words, not yours, they come to this school to learn even more advanced tactics. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So your company now, you're taking all of your years of experience, then also teaching these. And you were only out of it a year and a half, so the stuff you're teaching is probably still like the newest of the new material. So that's where you're drawing your experience on.
The good thing about it is, we've had instructors from all different groups there, and you're going to spend 2, maybe 3 years there. Then you get kicked back out operational, and then get replacements in. So that's the concept behind keeping everything relevant. All the TTPs are relevant because every 2 years you get new instructors in, and stuff doesn't change overnight, but it's good to get a fresh look every time there. So we stay relevant pretty easily like that.
Very cool. Very cool. So you're out pretty fresh. A lot of friends of mine that came from similar places talk about their first year or two out. How's that going for you? You adjusting back to the I don't know, back to your whole adult life you've been in the Army.
It's tough. It really is, because you're in a close-knit fraternity for 26 and a half years, and you're out, and I'm still in contact with the fellas, but it's not day to day. And, you know, life goes on though. You can't get trapped in wishing you're in the past. And that's the one thing I said. I moped and sulked about it for a little bit, but hey, life goes on. Make something of it. Use those friendships, use those relationships, use everything you're taught by your peers and subordinates and bosses, and bring something to the plate. So I didn't stew about it too long. Do I miss it? Yeah, I do, but I'm very happy what I'm doing right now. And this is the future for me and my family and the kids and Juice, and why relish in the past? We got to move forward. Yeah,
man, that's a good attitude. How's your body after all them years? You take any good bumps or bruises or breaks?
Yeah, I still feel like I'm 24, except in the morning. I still need 2 cups of coffee in about 45 minutes before I can get going. Used to be able to roll right out of bed, have a late night. I'm kind of a 10 o'clock-ish guy right now. I need at least my 5 to 8 hours of sleep, but it's fine. It really is. Physical wise is you take a little break, because when I was active duty, you have to do it. You have to have your body in elite shape because your teammates are counting on you. Now I do it because it's very mentally and physically enjoying. And you know what? You can't be out of shape, running around the range a lot. So I've always done it, and it's more mentally refreshing, honestly, than physically for me now, because I'm in no competition with anybody anymore. Just in competition with myself of staying fit and feeling good. I mean, that's probably the best natural high you can get, is a good solid workout no matter what you do.
What kind of workout regimen do you have? What do you do?
I'm a functional fitness type of guy.
Okay.
I'm not saying CrossFit specifically, but I do CrossFit. Everything's functional fitness, where it's probably a combination of strength, cardio, and Metcons all mixed in about four days a week. That's what I do.
That's good
I'm
stuff.
on a little routine. I was fortunate enough to have some great strength and conditioning coaches in the military, and I still got those routines in a book I've done for years. Of course, I'm nowhere near what I was 10 years ago, but it's still good to have.
I just was talking with my friend Pat McNamara the other day, and he likes to say motion is lotion. Like, talking about lotion for your joints, not. It's true though. I totally agree with you. You look at and go ahead. No, you. We got a little bit of a lag, so what I'll do is you talk and I'll just interrupt you. Did you hear me, Dan?
That sounds perfect. No, I agree with what you're saying. Is you see some of these older people out there that are like, man, just do something a little bit a day. It's going to keep you alive longer, and I firmly believe that.
There's a lot of young dudes.
Pizza and a beer.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of young dudes though that are out of shape. That's one of the things we talk about in our training programs is if you're truly trying to learn the skills like you teach as a civilian or law enforcement officer, different mission, right? Than like what you did, that you're learning it to live a long, full life. And why are you living so unhealthy and not keeping your body tuned up? We don't all have to be super athletes. I'm not, but you have to. It's like it's a dichotomy of thought in my head. I'm going to go spend thousands of dollars to build guns and go to classes with Lead Faucet or somebody else, but then I'm going to let my body waste away. It's kind of like a hobby then, or a entertainment value. You're not really doing it to protect your life. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. And you got to take a break every now and then. But I think on the mental aspect, for me, it's more important mentally, or just as important mentally as physically. I will kind of be in a bad mood, and I've learned through the years in the military is when I wake up, I don't even check emails because I'll get roped into something. It's coffee, workout, then I start my day. Boom. That's it. I don't even open up my emails or anything like that because I'm like, oh man, I got to answer these 10 things. And next thing you know, I'm working and I don't get my workout in, and then I get agitated because I just can't do it late in the day. I don't know what it is. I've always been a morning person for workout. just ain't happening if I don't do it in the morning. I mean, sometimes, but usually with the kids, if I'm gone business or feeding the 18 animals that keep growing out here, there's just too much to do at night.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention you got to have time for liquor.
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think that's one of those people toss the mindset word around all the time, and I think it's kind of become like a bastardized term, mindset. But that idea, I respect myself enough that when I get up, I'm going to have, maybe it doesn't have to be a strict routine, but I do the same thing. Like, I don't go right to the phone and start looking at Facebook or any of that shit, because next thing you know, like you said, 2 hours burned by, I'm working, and then now I got to get dressed and go to an appointment or do whatever. So I do the same thing, is hit the head, throw some sweats on, grab my jump rope or whatever I'm doing and make it happen. And there's definitely times I start reading emails or, don't follow plan. But I think for the most part, if we don't hold ourselves to that, it's so easy to just, I'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah. And then one day is 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks is 2 months.
and 2 months is 20 pounds.
Then you're just done.
Yeah. Yeah. Packing weight on.
Yep.
Tell me about Lead Faucet Tactical. What's we know your background. So instead of, everybody's got like tip of the spear training and Forged Warriors and Spartan, blah, blah, blah. Like, yours is almost a little comical.
No, I gotcha. It is, hey, you get this America. You can name your business anything you want. But it was something that when I was a private, we're jumping in to do this airfield seizure. And I was brand new. I was a assistant machine gunner. The machine gunner broke his leg on the jump. So my squad leader is like, Brokos, carry the machine gun. I said, and the AG gear too. Don't be a smart ass. I'm like, Roger that, Sergeant. I'll carry the machine gun too. And I'm just right out of basic training. We're doing this live fire raid. And back then I didn't even have Peltors or Ear Pro. And I'm shooting machine gun 3 to 5 round bursts like I was taught. And he's yelling at me like all in my ass. And I'm like, I can't hear you. What are you saying? And he just walks up, punches me in the gut, grabs me and says, quit around, turn on the lead faucet. It's not what you hit, it's how this machine gun sounds. Now turn on the lead faucet. And he pushed me out of the way and was like, 20 round bursts. And I'm like, all right, I got this. So of course I melted the shit out of that barrel and had to low crawl off the drop zone after that. But it sort of just stuck with me, turn on the lead faucet. And I've used it all the time, sort of jokingly, but not, it was always a brevity code. Hey guys, Bravo 12 on the Goss, turn on that lead faucet. Let's make it disappear from Google Earth. It was always a saying that stuck with me.
I dig it. So do you tell us when you do classes, do you tell people the story behind that when you're with students? And
yeah, for most part, they'll ask, hey, how'd you get that name? Well,
okay.
Why lead faucet? And I'm like, well, and then one guy's like, well, and I'll say to the student, I'm like, man, you need to turn on the lead faucet, but that just doesn't mean shoot anywhere. You got to be accurate when you turn it on. So it's kind of a joke when the dude's doing it. Hey man, I turned the lead faucet. I'm like, yeah. And you had about 12 out of the A zone out of 20. So let's dial that faucet back on down and get it in the middle.
Context, right?
Yep. Context.
Yeah. That's a good story. So you guys, my brother was in the Army in late 90s. And I remember him telling me how guys had like stuffed toilet paper and cigarette butts and whatever they could find in their ears. You literally were just shooting machine guns with no hearing protection.
Yeah, back then they had like these little foamies that didn't even work, and not those things now, or people using cotton balls, but all hand and arm signals.
Hand and arm signals just to be able to communicate.
Yep.
That's crazy. Excuse me. Are we spoiled now? Are the soldiers and sailors of today spoiled compared to? I got a guy I grew up with. I was an apprentice carpenter underneath him. He was a tunnel rat during Vietnam, and he's not a braggart or anything like that, but he's shared a few stories with me. I just think how horrific, you know, in no amenities, no TVs and bunkhouses and air conditioning. And he's talking about like freaking body lice and leeches and no clean water and digging shitholes and all that fun stuff.
I don't think they're spoiled. I was never the boss and had plenty growing up saying, hey, we look at this, we need this. And he's like, I've been walking around with an Alice pack for 30 years. Well, yeah, we used to wear wool pants too. That's not technology anymore. No, I don't think they're spoiled, because even when that technology came along, there's still a lot of soldiers, no matter Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, they're sucking it up downrange. Yes, there's amenities, but majority of these guys are still sucking it up. I mean, I don't think you can compare anything to, you know, World War I, World War II in Vietnam.
Sure.
There's ACs floating all over the place, but it's still hard life. I mean, it really is. I can compare it. It's just technology's better.
I suppose the flip side is a lot more is required too. Got like you, how many years at war? A decade and a half, 2 decades of your career instead of a couple years at best.
Yeah. And, you know, a tour or two was, you know, a year there. But, you know, nowadays we were doing multiple of 4 to 6 months, and it adds up over, you know, a couple decades. It wears on you. So I think 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. They're very comparable.
Okay. You're doing some stuff. You guys, last year, I think, and I don't know if you're doing it again this year, did a shooters symposium, I believe.
Yes.
That was,
yeah, and it's happening. Yeah, that's happening again out in the ranch in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Last year was the first year. It's happened again this year. And Jedi, Jared, Bill Blowers, Aaron Cowan, Mike Pannone. There's Steve Fisher. There's about 10 or 12 instructors out there, but it's set up pretty well. I'll get 15 to 20 guys for 8 hours, and then the next day they'll go something else. So it's just one shot, you know, a day class for 3 days long, but you see a lot of people, and they can pick whatever class they want. You know, Chuck's running the night vision section. So some guys will be like, hey, I'm going to do a night class this day. And then maybe I'll take Dan's class that goes from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock the next day. And then maybe I'll take this class the last day. So I think it's a great idea. It worked out very well last year. And this year, I think there's even more industry sponsorship and support for the event.
Very
and it's
cool.
Good hanging out with the other instructors. I mean, I always said I don't have any enemies in this business, all friends, because there's a lot of people doing the same damn job out there, but there's a million used car sales in the United States. There's room for everybody. So why not become friends and share ideas and tactics and hang out and be friends and bullshit about stuff?
I agree. That's actually a good topic of discussion. It's unfortunate how many guys are in this field that have bad attitudes because of, I mean, Dan don't know shit compared to this guy, and he didn't see what I did or do what I did, or I invented how to load this gun this way. And there's so much ego with a lot of dudes. I don't associate with them. When I get that vibe from dudes, it's like, all right, well, I don't, need to feel that. So you got to kind of weed those dudes out. Yeah,
to me, it's kind of comical, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't. We've never taught the high ready, but I know some of the SEALs use the high ready, and people still use it. Is it wrong? No, it's not. So I'm going to put out what worked for me and my guys over the last years. And I always say, if you take 1 or 2 things each day, then I've done my job. I ain't asking you to change anything, but expose yourself to different ideas and different people. Heck, throughout my career, we've probably brought in 10 or 11 different shooters to take a look at them. And, you know, some of them were never in the military, never law enforcement, but I told the fellas, if you don't learn 1 or 2 things about how he articulates a fundamental or manipulates a trigger, then you don't have an open mind to it. People just have to have an open mind. There's 1,000 ways to do something. There's no one book, The Secrets of Shooting. That's not the only way to do it. If you read it, tell me what it is, because there's 6 ways to do everything. That's
Right on.
sort of my approach to things.
I agree. I'm talking about that this morning in our jujitsu session. The guy instructing, a good friend of mine, brought up a point how many schools, unlike the one I attend, they might teach somebody 10 ways to do one thing, and he doesn't like that because then that person needs to have 10 things in their head. And his mindset is, I'd rather have 1 or 2 that I know I can execute really well. It kind of like your high ready thing. Like, I got a friend that was a 5th group guy that he uses high ready and low ready, and and kind of thinks about it more like how's a good way of putting it? I don't know if he defines it as such. Like, contextually, I might have to have my rifle in this position as such. I will train to get it against my shoulder, but I think sometimes we want to like learn too many ways of doing things, and then we don't get efficient or proficient at anything. What do you think about that? Like, we can't master.
I agree. I agree with you. But get the knowledge and experience and pick what works for you and stick with it. There's a lot of different things I can equate to everything. Like, our draw stroke was always taught a defensive draw stroke. You should be able to fire from position 2 and 3 and then go straight out. And you see a lot of people, that gun is not stopping at 3 and it's going straight up to target. Is it wrong or right? Don't know. But I'm going to do that because that's the way I was taught, and that's the way I believe you should shoot it. But I'm not saying I'm the only right one out there.
It's interesting when you start looking at stuff like that, like Scott Jedlinski. I refuse to call him Jedi. Scott, I just was with him a couple weeks back, and you get I've got friends that can draw and hit a target at full extension in 6/10 of a second. Like, so does shooting here buy that guy any time? It's 3/4 of a second, half a second. But I think it's, again, a contextual thing, but you get like these arguments, and you are good at it. You spent years doing it. So to you, it's like, that's the system I know. If I have to smoke check some guy in the parking lot at Walmart that's trying to hold you up, you can deploy your carry weapon from wherever, right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
And it also stems from, our combatives program of fighting with a long gun, my secondary, which is a pistol, and a knife. I mean, everything's taught for a reason. Hey, I can fight in here, or I can fight way out here. So it's a whole, it's involved around just more than the flat range. It's about wearing your kit properly, and what happens, and it has happened to dudes downrange that come in the room and just get tackled. Sure. All right, what are you doing now? You ain't using your M4. If you can get your pistol, and I should be able to shoot, even if I'm standing up from here to here, get distance and go off on this guy. So everything is based around fighting too, for us, as well as, that's where the draw stroke came around, is combatives and what we're going to do in kit.
I got a question for you. I've asked a lot of guys with backgrounds like yours. How often, and maybe you'll know an answer, maybe you won't. How often did you ever see, or have you personally had to dump your carbine and draw a pistol and transition? I ask that because there's so many guys teaching classes where they spend hours training, transitioning to pistols.
When we used to climb roofs, the carbine was slung and the pistol was the primary out. When you got to the top, and that's how you cleared it. Pistol was your primary until everybody got up on the roof, especially the number 1 man. Then you went carbine as soon as everything was no shots, anything like that. So I've known 2 people throughout my entire career that actually had to transition and use their pistol. So
because of proximity or weapons malfunction or something like that?
Both of them were weapons malfunctions. Okay.
So 26 and a half years, many of them in special operations, 2 times you've known that to happen. I've asked so many dudes that, and I only bring it up because it seems like the 5,000 guys teaching carbine pistol classes spend half a day on that skill set of properly transitioning to a sidearm. Just seems like a very low probability especially for like a dude like me that's not going to war with a rifle slung up. Just seems like an interesting skill set to invest a lot of energy in.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I do cover, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. Here's the bottom line: get rid of the damn carbine and get your pistol out. That cut and dry, you know. But I agree with you.
I just wanted to get your feeling because it's, you know, that's totally your wheelhouse. I try to ask people that, and now it's recorded. So if you try to change your story later, I can say, got it on tape.
No, I always say that. You know, there's guys are folded over, put your sling properly. One, you're not going to remember all that stuff. Your sling is going to be in 1,000 different configurations by pulling security up to the target. There's no configuration you can put it in. It's either dump it, pin it, put it to your side, and draw your pistol. I mean, it's cut and dry. And there's, I mean, your life depends on it. The thing you want to do is get your pistol out as fast as possible.
It makes good sense to me. So let's change gears a little bit here. You get out a year and a half ago. Your wife, Jessica, which you said has a nickname of Juice, which sounds super cool to me. I want a wife. I'm going to call my wife something cool like that. She probably won't let me, but you guys now live in the country and you got a farm. You said 18 animals.
Well, I was exaggerating, but like every time I do go on a trip, we have 3 cows, 5 goats, 3 pigs, 5 rabbits, and 4 dogs. We started off with just 2 dogs.
Are they pets, or do you have a hobby farm there where you're raising for milk or meat?
Oh yeah, both. Well, okay. The whole idea was this. We know nothing about, and we're learning a lot. It takes a lot to be smart in agriculture, be a farmer. How do you get your grass to grow? Because the cow keeps eating it. Well, you got to have 2 separate. I mean, I did it for the challenge. I really did. And it's something that we always talked about. It's like, hey, let's move to the country and start a little farm. And it was supposed to be for meat. And a lot of people have showed us. I mean, it's delicious and cheaper raising your own, but they've sort of become pets. They all have names, and the kids pet them and juice feeds them every morning. And heck, there was a goat sleeping in my bed 3 nights ago. That's a week old. And I'm like, all right, I see we're never going to kill any of these. Well, we can kill the pigs, maybe a cow. Everything else is a pet. That's how it morphed into.
That's fun. I was going to ask you that. As a kid, we were in a rural area. We were in 4-H. We raised goats. Actually, you're talking to a goat milking champion. No joke. But go to the 4-H show at the fair.
Hey.
Like all of our friends, like one of our buddies, their family raised prize steers. And they would, the kids would raise the animal for this year, and then it would get auctioned off. And you'd see these kids like in sheer terror knowing that their animal is getting auctioned off for 80 cents a pound. And like it was hard to watch. It was kind of weird because the kid like had this bond from the time the animal was a baby, and then some farmer bought it and chopped it up. Can't make friends.
Yeah. No, but I see it because all of our animals we bought from babies, and everything's been bottle fed and then goes out in the pasture. Like right now, the goat she got's a week and a half old, and it needs a bottle 4 times a day, and it's like a little baby. It
what kind of goat?
Leave the room without being there. Juice.
What kind?
It's a little pygmy goat. It's one of those little ones. So it's it's a pygmy. Yep.
We raised Sonnens, which are like the largest breed of goat. We had one that was over 200 pounds. So those were not getting in bed.
Well, that was only the first night. I actually was watching a little bit of TV, rolled in bed, put my arm around her. I'm like, why is the cat in bed? She's like, it's the goat. I'm like, oh my gosh.
My mom, we raised tons of chickens. My parents had 11 kids. So my mom got these goats, side story, because she had a set of twins and my mother didn't want to feed them formula. So she knew that goat milk was better than cow milk for baby humans because she couldn't make enough milk herself to feed these 2 baby boys. Anyway, we end up a couple years later, we're raising chickens and turkeys and all kinds of shit. And we would butcher like 40 to 60 chickens a year. My mom one year we get these chickens, and we're again raising them like you talking about from babies, but you don't get attached to a chicken. Well, my mom had like 2 that would follow her. She'd put clothes on the line, she'd sing, and these chickens would run from across the property and find my mom and just hang out with her. They'd sit with her when she'd be reading. I butchered one by mistake. I think to this day, that was 25 or 30 years ago. My mom still had it. But like she realized as we're, we'd have this day where we'd round up like 50 birds and butcher them. And I didn't know which one was which. Like, and she had a name for it. Did you kill Susan? I don't know. No, they're all the same. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
So now you're just paying to raise animals.
Yeah, I'm pretty much paying to have animals produce shit.
You're gonna do the pigs though?
Yeah, we've already done a couple.
Okay.
And just the pig pick and pig roast is phenomenal. I've never done that, and the first one I totally butchered it, the whole cooking process. But then I had a couple people over and help me. And there's a secret to it. These people know. Soft coals, 8 hours. So it's good. And we butchered 2 of mother and pork chops and ham, and it's well worth it when you raise them yourself.
How'd your kids deal with that?
No issues.
No.
I mean, it is what it is. Juice is the only one. She'll eat pork, but it can't be the ones that we killed. Oh well. But everybody else does.
I've got a sister that lives on an island in Maine. Beautiful place. It's like something out of a book. And there's like 50 residents on the island. It's real densely wooded. And so they wanted to, they got some gardens and stuff. They wanted to clear some of the property for more gardens. So they decided to get 4 or 5 pigs, and they fenced in an area of the property. And man, after 2 months, these pigs just wiped the ground clean, and they turned all the soil up from all the digging and rooting. And then over that time, the pigs grew, they butchered them. They made a bunch of them into aged ham and stuff and smoked it. And some of it was pretty amazing. They brought a chunk back for Christmas that we cooked, but my sister was writing poems about it because she was so heartbroken because she raised them from little 2-pound piglets. And to kill them, it was broke her heart. It's a part of life though, right? I mean, we all go to McDonald's. Well, I don't eat at McDonald's, but we eat the stuff and we remove ourselves.
Every meat in the store, something was killed for it. That's what I try to tell them. I mean, do it ourselves or go buy it at the store. Something died.
Do you think you'll take a stab again at raising a cow without making it your friend?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because it's well worth it. I got to put up another fence and a little mother section of pasture, and we'll start over. Hopefully with it. We'll see.
There's a cool documentary. I think it's Pennsylvania or maybe Ohio. Could be Virginia too, actually. There's a farmer he's a scientist, and he's got this, it's not a theory, but he's very into the idea of what you're doing. The animals live on the land. They take what they need, not anymore, because they don't have to. They graze, their droppings replenish the soil, and he moves it around the property. And then he goes really deep into the whole circle of life, the organic microorganisms that the animals are eating, the chickens, his pigs, his cows, all of that is the makeup of their system. And then, of course, we consume it. And the way that he made it sound like these animals are living as free and healthy as an animal ever could, because there's he protects them from predators. They have this fenced in, beautiful place to live. And then, yes, they are trading their life for his, but it's a pretty sweet life. They live probably longer than they would in nature because some predator or lack of food would take them. And then we eat and continue on. It's pretty interesting, though. It gave you a different perspective about feeling bad about it.
Yeah. I know what documentary you're talking about. It was one of the people, when we first moved out here, turned it on to us. And great setup. And the whole thing is, I don't know where McDonald's gets their beef, but it's probably 2,000 cows jammed in a pen and just slaughtered after one another. And yeah, these people have life to live. Well, these animals have life to live and stress-free, but at the end, yeah, you got to eat them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That'd be cool to see in a couple years you get over that and just start killing your pets. That's what I got to say about it.
That could be in 2 years, we may not have any animals. It becomes a huge pain in the ass. We're done. We're on a freeze right now. Well, actually, no, we're getting geese
other than
Friday,
the baby goat.
And and geese. And that's it for a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Geese are mean, man. My mom had a bunch of those. Those suckers attack you.
Yeah, everybody's been telling us that. We know the previous owners of this house very well, and they've had every animal, and they're like, don't do it. But we got to experience it for ourselves.
They do a good job of keeping other predators away because they're so obnoxious. We had a problem one year with weasels and foxes, and the geese were really good at least making a ruckus when they sensed or smelled or heard a predator. They'd go frickin' ape shit. So that was a plus side there.
Yeah, it's full-time security outside. You always need security.
The one that we had would attack people's cars when it would pull in the driveway. The goose would come and try to attack the vehicle. They're lunatics. So I got a question. I like to ask guys with your background this. So I just kind of touched on the topic of going to all of these different trainings, which I think I'm well over 1,000 hours of time as a student with guys like you or others, where I show up, I pay, I bring my gear, and we train. And I've kind of got to the point not where I can't learn anything else, because I could spend my whole life learning, but like the last year or two, I think, what am I spending time away from my family for? Like, what am I getting out of this? Like, do I really need to take a low light nods course? And I haven't, and I won't, but I shouldn't say I won't. Like, at what point does it just become entertainment? And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's people that go do karaoke and they can't sing. And there's people that dress up and go to parades and shit just because it's fun. But at what point does it become disingenuous? And maybe you don't have an opinion on that. Do you kind of see the point I'm driving at?
I get your point, and I would say I could relate it to this. When I was active duty and we would bring somebody in, did we really need to? Maybe not, but it was always a good 5 days where nobody had to set up the range. It was all that instructor's game plan, and it was a chance for all of us to train and have fun together. And I'll be honest, I agree. And I think out there's a lot of people might not need it, but it's a good chance to meet other people. It's like a hobby. Should it be a hobby? I don't know, but I know there's a lot of guys that probably don't need it, but still like to take several classes a year to meet other people and hang out. And maybe they want to get away from the family and go do a 3-day carbine in Las Vegas or wherever and hang out with some people, meet them. And I think it is fun for them. I mean, that's okay. I see where you're coming from.
On that, I 100% agree. On that note, I 100% agree. I guess what I'm driving at is at what point. Here's a good example. I have a friend that's a very good shooter. He probably will be a USPSA masterclass shooter by his next qualification for USPSA. That's a top 2% of pistol shooters in the world kind of a shooter. Yet he's still like taking all these classes looking for some like magic sauce. And I'm like, dude, you're already like better than most of the people that we know. And at some point, like, I think what I'm trying to say is like, you got to take the shit you've learned and turn it in and build a practice around what you know, instead of continually trying to seek more and more and more and more. Like right now, I just want to get real good, which I'm succeeding at, of drawing my pistol and hitting small targets quickly and feeling very confident in being able to do that with the clothes that I choose, and feeling comfortable doing that at distances that in the world I live in, I may have to ever shoot somebody. And I work on that. Like, I'm not working on shit like low crawling around cars, and because I do that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you. I at some point in time, you just got to cut it off and put everything to use and say, hey, I'm all big at drills and keeping a log. It's like a workout log. I mean, I don't know how you improve if you're not logging something down and going back there and say, hey, pick one skill set. Like you said, I'm working at my draws and small targets. Well, 4 months ago, where was I at from 10 meters, one shot draw on a 3-inch dot? Now, where am I today? And can I consistently do that? So I am growing, becoming better.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I agree. So, you got to cut it off. And people ask me all the time, well, man, you got to keep a training log. I have not just the drills that I run in my classes, but my own drills. And I always go back and look, where am I at? All right, where was I at a year and a half ago? Because a lot of them are what we used at work. All right, here I am today. Or I'll go back and look, hey, this has sort of been a weak point because I haven't done this a long time. Let me pull out my drills. All right, I need to be there. Let's work on this. Support side shooting is my example. Is I'm not where I used to be, so every time I'm home on the range, that's what I'm working on, pulling out my drill log and looking at the drills and getting to where I need to be.
So it's a focused effort, not just showing up to the range and shooting holes in paper and dumping magazines while you film yourself for Instagram. You've got a plan, identify where you've got to fix something or improve on something, and then come up with a plan on how you will achieve that. Is that what you're striving at there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's
yeah. You said that way better than me.
Excuse me. I've got a.
But
go ahead.
What you just said is what I meant to say.
Funny. What I don't know if I've got it down here. I've got a 3-part thing that I don't know what I did with it that I give to students, and it's taken me years to acquire it. I don't have it. It's 3 super complicated questions, and I tell them, what's your goal? And then what can you do right now to move towards the goal, and then do those things. And it's a big kind of a joke, but it's not complicated. But I think that was kind of the point I'm driving at. And it took me a lot of words to say it earlier. It just seems like the hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like going to concerts. I like going fishing. I like burning wood in my backyard and chugging lots of beer and smoking cigars. So there's nothing wrong with it. But if the goal is actually to get better at protecting my family, how many classes do I need to go to where I start to realize that I need to apply that shit, as you said, where I'm holding myself accountable? Because there's dudes that go to classes, and that's the only time they really shoot.
No, if that's the case, I agree with you. At some point, don't take a class, spend 4 or 5 hours on a range just working on what you've learned. Once you get that, keep sticking with that. Then, hey, I've never done NVGs. I just bought them. Go take a class, spend some time on the range. But yeah, I agree with you. Just if you're going to classes and calling that training, it is training. You got to follow up on everything you're taught and pick a focus, pick a goal, and stick with it.
So if somebody shows up to LFT class, what are you going to give them that they're not going to see elsewhere? Or maybe what do you feel that your strong points are? What sets you apart? Because something must.
I currently am running more CQB classes than I did the first year.
Okay.
And I really enjoy that, because I think overall that there's people's willingness not to change some of their tactics because that's the way it's been used. Without saying this is the only way to do something, because it's not. But at the end of it, my goal is to say, hey, you know what? after a 3-day CQB class, I understand what Dan's talking about, the fundamentals, and we're safe enough and we know enough to go work on this and apply this to our unit, and we're going to change some things.
I dig it.
If that makes sense. I mean, it's nothing is, I'm in this job to give back on what I learned. And the biggest, I guess, things I get out of it when I get calls from people saying, hey, Dan, that was great tactics. We're slowly implementing it into our operational unit, whether it's LE or the military, or any federal organization, then I've done my job. Then I've done my job with it.
So what I just heard is you are challenging some norms, challenging people to expand what they think is the only way, or there's so much of that. If you're talking about law enforcement, and you know better than I even, there's so much of that stuff where it's like, well, that's what they taught me, so that's the way it's done. And then the mind.
Yeah, there is that. And you know what? That's the way it was in the military for me when I was just in the regular infantry. There's only one way to do it, and there's not, and we were never taught the right way until I got into the soft realm. And a lot of people don't know any better because of that unit. And it's great when I get an LE officer that just got there and he's like, well, we're not allowed to do this. Well, you should be allowed to do it, and this is the proper way to defend yourself around a vehicle or position of cover or something like that. Well, there's no way we could switch hands with a weapon. Well, it's safe enough if you do it over time and keep training on it. It's just second nature to us.
What's the biggest challenge that you have when you're working like with an agency? Like I'm assuming some of the stuff you're talking about is like a specialized SWAT team for a city or county police agency. What's like the biggest challenge that you have as an instructor during or in that?
Actually, you know what? The biggest challenge is on the CQB side of the house is getting the right structure to train properly in it. And it's something that usually happens, but sometimes it doesn't. And then when you come into I've learned throughout the past year and a half, hey, send me pictures of this structure. Oh, that's not going to work, fellas. And before, I'm just like taking it for granted. Oh, we need a shoot house. Well, to me, the definition of a shoot house is totally different than somebody else. So it's taken the first year to learn some of these things. So now when I run a tactics course, I ask for pictures of the building. Does it accomplish this? How many doorways are in it? All right. And now I'm getting pictures and videos. Hey, we can't use that. All right, find another one. Oh, that's perfect. Let's do it. So
I see.
It was really the infrastructure of training was not what I was used to. But that's all been fixed because I guess that's sort of on me as an instructor, but I make sure every asset I need to train is with those guys. And if I ask for it, they've got it for me now. So I really haven't had any issues with these specialized teams and full teams. If they're calling me in there, they want to train.
Sure.
And most of them, 99% of them are very receptive of, hey guys, I know you've done this for years. Give my way a try for 3 days. My way a try for 3 days. I know there's some old habits, and by the end of day 2 and all of day 3, all the old habits are gone and it's making sense to them.
I dig it. What does it take to get you to get out and do a class like that? People can find you through your website, I'm assuming, to communicate with you, and you can talk about pricing.
Yep. They just, hit up my emails on there, GCGML on there. Hey, we're interested in the class. Hit us up and we'll plug it into the calendar. And then I've got a lot of classes plugged in on the calendar already, and just, hey, what specific location is that in California or wherever it's at? But yeah, that's the best way. Just send me or juice an email and we'll answer you.
So you travel all the way to the West Coast?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I think you were just in Florida, I just saw.
Yeah, I was down in Jacksonville.
Okay. Did you see Jared when you were down there?
Yeah. I stayed at his house.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Very cool. He stayed here the last time he was up here, and he left his boots here. And I had somebody give me a dildo as a gag gift. So when I mailed him his boots back, I shoved that into one of the boots, and I think that was probably fun when he opened it at the kitchen table. Put a little note in there. I got send him back the stuff you left here. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. Well, last year at the Shooter Symposium, the last night before everybody flew out, I'd say we tipped a couple too many back and woke up the next day and
shit, Dan, I lost you.
What are you gonna do with that? I said, man, I'm gonna scratch you. Got me now?
Go. The last thing I heard is that you guys had too many to drink at the symposium, and then you woke up the next morning.
Jared was already gone, and old Jared left his check on the table for his paycheck for coming out there, and I confiscated that, sent him a picture, and I said, I'm gonna it's a little white out right over Reston's gonna be Brokos.
Nice. Yeah, every time I'm with him, and it's not his fault, we usually enjoy much fun, which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. You live but once, right?
No, yeah. Yep, I only live once.
I think Pat McNamara, not to quote him twice, he has a good saying: every night's a Friday, every morning's a Monday. And I've kind of adopted that one a little bit. It makes good sense, I mean, if you're the kind of person that'll get the hell up the next day and keep moving, right?
Yep.
That's one thing I think I enjoy about guys like you that come from your background. Like, I think some dudes, like I don't know you well. You seem like a pretty cool cat. I think some dudes are, like we were talking about Super Dave earlier. He's a pretty hard-nosed guy, but if you know him and he knows you well, like, he's a sweet, loving dude. He just posted something, by the way, about a cat that lives outside of his house. I forget what he calls it. Outside cat, I think. And he's fed it for 10 years. And last night the cat let him pet it. So it's just funny. Like, if you know Super Dave, this like monster Green Beret, his outside trying to pet a stray cat at night. But like, there's, I think a lot of dudes like are just like so edgy and hard nosed, and you got to live, you got to have fun, but you got to get the hell out of bed the next day to go to work. Right.
Yeah, and if you can do that, then yeah, I agree. Every night's a Friday. If you got a good work ethic, it's easy.
Yeah. So, what's next for you? Are you going to build this brand into like a nationally known? Not that it isn't. Do you want to be like you said earlier? You were doing some work with Kyle Lamb. You still working with Kyle? You plan to take him over?
No.
That was a joke.
No, not at all.
That was a joke.
No. I've known him for years. He's taught me a lot. The goal is to keep doing this, giving back, and really tie with industry, with good industry partners, and keep doing more products. It's
what kind of products are you
doing? Right now we have a belt out, a dump pouch, a sling, 5 carbine accessories, and a Glock pistol accessory, a +2 tactical base pad, I call it. But we're going to get M&P online with that, and a couple other things. A really tactical magwell, if you want to call it. It's sort of been my pet peeve for a long time with these magwells. I think we're going to try to do 6 more accessories this year.
What's the tactical magwell, and what's your pet peeve with magwells?
It's got little lips on the end of it.
Okay.
And if I'm ever down to one hand, I know from beating up Glocks a lot of time on the range, the most common malfunction we have is a stuck magazine. And besides using your teeth, you got a big magwell in there, and you don't expose any of that lip. That thing ain't coming out if you're ever down to one hand.
Right.
In that thing. And these are lessons learned from friends who've had that happen to them, and good luck getting that magazine out, especially with your life dependent on it. And mine just has a little bit of lip on it. I can snag it anywhere on my kit and get that stuck magazine out. And these are, the ideas I've had tactical wise that, man, it's let's invest something here. I mean, this is a business, it's an investment, and let's put some products out there that are, nothing's a gimmick. I run them for a year before they even come out. If this don't work, and it's not out there to flood the market with stuff. I want to put the hands of military LE guys and the average guy who wants some kit that really works.
That makes good sense. How does it work? This is always an interesting thing in this business. You touched on it earlier. Like, you're friends with Kyle. Kyle sells slings. Kyle sells belts. And while there is lots to go around, you're selling a competing product to your friend's business. How does that work out?
I mean, I go back to the saying of, there's over 1 million used car lots in the U.S. and everybody can succeed if it's not gimmicky. I don't think there's any hard feelings. If I have people I know that are still active duty and they want to do the same thing, I'm going to help them out. Oh, you got a sling? Man, that's badass. No problem. I think there's room in this industry, and I always said I'll have no enemies. There's no need to argue and fight with people over petty stuff like accessories when mine are totally different. But sure, competing. Sure. But hey, there's just be mature, professional about it.
I like the attitude, man. Just coming at it with that positive attitude, I think makes stuff so much easier. While it's not competing over accessories, though. It's competing over money to support your family. Because if there's a dude that's going to buy a $80 sling, he might only buy one in his lifetime or in 10 years. And if it's $80 coming to you, or I don't know what your sling cost, or Frank Proctor's making slings, which are cool, and I don't know, you can't even name them all. It is a bit of a conundrum for me. I know 5 guys that are all friends of mine that all make holsters. So like when somebody says to me, hey, what's a good inside the waistband holster for a Glock 19? I'm like, I know which one I tell them.
I get you. I mean, you're right. You got to find something that's a little bit different and see if it works out. Not everything is going to sell.
What's different about your sling? What did you not like about all of the slings available that you said, I want to take a stab at this? You know what?
I never disliked some of the slings I was running out there. I just took a stab at it. It's made of Hypalon and Tweeb. It's super light. My whole goal was to roll something up and fit it in the can of a Copenhagen tin to get it just super small and super light. And I think for years, some of these big padded slings don't roll well across armor and kit. And mine rolls very well. It folds up. You can put a little band on it and folds up nice and tight right on the stock.
I see it. I looked it up here. I like it. Well, I'm about to order one now and try it. Do you have black?
It is multicam. It's mostly black, but the working end is multicam black. But black is coming. Solid black is coming. We're going to do about 3 more colors this year.
Cool, man. I dig it. I appreciate you taking the time to talk. We kind of bounced around a little. Sometimes it's hard to have these discussions when I don't know a person very well, because I don't know, if I'm going to offend you or.
I'm easy going, man. You got to have, but you know what? I grew up with 3 brothers, and the whole goal was my dad being a super strict ex-Marine. It was, you have to have rhino lining for skin. And I always told the dudes at work, if you can't take an ash tune from me and drink a beer at the end of the day, you're probably not on the right job.
I like that. Your dad's still alive?
No, he passed about 2 years ago.
Sorry to hear that. My dad's still alive, and I think about that from time to time as I get older and I have friends our age. I'll ask them that. It sounds like he was a pretty big influence in your life.
Yeah, he was. It was. I see why he did the things he did when I got older. And I tell you, my oldest boy wrote me a letter while he was in basic training. It's pretty much the same thing I told my dad when I grew up. Hey, I see the things you did and it makes sense to me, of making your bed every day, why you were so strict, work ethic. There's no laying around. You're going to work on Saturdays, at least 4 hours in the yard. Did stuff have to be done? Not really, but just the things he did for me is what I've passed on to my kids, about work ethic and being proud at the end of the day, not just laying around in front of a video. I'd let them play video games, but that was when they had friends over. There was always something for them to do.
That's heavy duty, man. That had to be a pretty moving thing to open that letter up from your son.
Yeah, it was awesome, because they've always been good kids, but just reading that letter, 2 pages of, he understands the reasons why I did things that didn't make sense to him, and he thought I was too strict and kind of mean, but he totally gets it now. But yeah, it was a good letter.
I dig it.
And I wasn't. They're teenagers. Everything is mean and strict to them, and they don't understand it. And it's but later on in life they will.
If my son's listening, I'm still waiting for a letter, Andrew. That's my son. That's good stuff. That's funny. I was with my dad the other day, and we were chatting a little bit, and I probably should tell him that there's some stuff. Not a perfect father, but plenty of things like, okay, I get it, and I see that, and that full circle thing's pretty heavy duty, probably being on both sides. Was your dad bent at you when you joined the Army instead of the Marine Corps?
No, he wasn't. And it's kind of funny because all my brothers went in the Marine Corps. None of them really stayed in past 4 or 5 years and got out and have other jobs.
Okay.
I guess I was always the one that opposed him. Because he's like, here's what you're going to do. When you turn 18, I'm going to drop you off in front of the Marine recruiter and you're going to join the military. I'm like, well,
I'm losing you again, man.
Go down there and
I lost you again. You said he's going to take you down to the recruiter.
Yep. Drop me off at the Marine recruiter. You're going to go pick a job and that's what you're going to do. He dropped me off down there and I went straight into the Army recruiter and talked to him.
That's hilarious. Did you do it because you wanted to be in the Army, or did you do it to kind of spite your old man?
Spite my old man.
Yeah.
But I go back and look, and I did go to see him next. But I remember, to be honest, at then 18, the video that they showed me of some Rangers running around and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's my job right there. You're a young kid back then. And he didn't care when he came back. He's like, hey, you know what? He always told me this. The unit doesn't make the man makes the unit. So I don't care if you join the Army, the Air Force, Navy. I don't care if you go to college, but just remember this. And I've always passed it on to everybody. I'm like, hey, dude, just because you're here doesn't define who you are. Just because you're in this unit doesn't make you are. The man makes the unit. So life is never over. And the end of that is, man, you got to compete every day for your job and be proud of it.
I dig it. I like that saying. I think that's what we'll title this podcast. The unit doesn't make the man makes the unit. It's good shit. It's kind of like, I was just talking yesterday a little bit, similar thread. We have belief systems, but if our life doesn't align with those belief systems, like the outward actions that we put out into the world, our deeds, then that's not really our belief systems at all. And like, your family is who they are because of you, or you and your wife, right? Kind of the same thing for the layman. I dig it, man. I gotta jump here because I just looked at the clock and we've been talking for over an hour, and I dig it. I think we covered some good ground. How do people find you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
LeadFaucetTactical.com. Pop on the website. All my training's up there, my products, and all the contact information. If they need anything, shoot me an email. My phone number is even on there. So feel free to call, email. We'll answer it.
I'd like to bring you up here. We've got a range up here near Chicago. We should set up a class up here, and so we'll talk, later offline and figure out how to make that happen. I don't know if you're doing 2020 now or what, but we should set that up.
Sounds good, and I appreciate Mickey having me on, man. Good stuff.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
SHOT Show, man.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to meet in person. I need to jump into one of your classes, and I appreciate you using the experience that we, the people, probably paid $1 million a year to teach you. It was kind of a joke, but kind of not.
You know what? They've tallied up one time, and I bet it's in the millions for a soldier nowadays.
I'm sure. Well, that's, it's awesome because there's a lot of guys that don't want to give all that knowledge back. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Nope. Thank you, Mickey.
You guys, if you want to get a hold of Dan, he gave you the email address, Lead Faucet Tactical. He's got some shirts on there, some slings, some other gear. You can sign up for a class. If you guys have not seen the Shooter Symposium going on in Texas this year, check that out too. There's a bunch of awesome other instructors that are working with him. If you're not subscribed to our podcast or to this YouTube channel, if you're viewing this, please do so. It's how we continue to grow so that we can bring gentlemen like this to you so that you can get to know them and learn about their lives and the things that you can do to make yourself a better man or woman. Be well, tell somebody you love them, and don't be a dickhead.
I like that, Mickey. Thanks, man.
Peace out, Dan. Bye now.
All right, bye.
Visit our website, CarryTrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., CarryTrainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@CarryTrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@CarryTrainer.com or CarryTrainer.com.